Hello everyone, it's your favorite great souled man here and yeah, today I wanted to talk about Aristotle's political economy with a special focus on his view of money and what I think it can tell us about the world today. And this is from his Nicomachean Ethics, and this is the edition I'm using. It's the University of Chicago edition by Robert C. Bartlett and Susan D. Collins. This is an edition that I found in graduate school when I started it about uh 3.5/4 years ago, and this was new back then. Like they had just published this a few, maybe like 4 to 8 months before. Um, and yeah, I actually think it's a really good edition. It's very readable, and the footnotes are very critical in the textual sense, which means that like they explain a lot. And uh while um you're not gonna get as much commentary, like for example you won't get a full critical apparatus or anything like that for more scholarly editions, but I think you will get enough to enhance your reading, and like um it's just very modern. A lot of the ones you find online are like from the mid to late 19th century, and they're not really all that readable. I feel that they cause more confusion, even though trust me, I know what it's like to have to use those ones. Thankfully I had scholarships and stuff. But anyway, yeah, and also as you can see, this is the special torn up cerebral palsy edition that you only get if you're a spastic like me. uh and yeah, the specific sections I'm gonna be talking about also is book 5, chapters 3 through 5. um which the Becker numbers for those are 1133A 10 to around 1134, or I'm sorry, 1131A 10 to 1134B 17, roundabout there. And yeah, guys, I think that Aristotle's political economy is very Greek and very very I don't know, characteristic of his philosophy. Duh, it's his book, even though I know they say that maybe Nicomachean Ethics wasn't even written by him but by one of his students. Either way, it's very focused on quote unquote justice, right? People getting what they deserve. And as with a lot of stuff in ancient Greece, even though he does briefly mention individual political economy, especially in chapters 4 and 5, um um still nothing is divorced from the community. And um I want to draw a particular distinction to the way Aristotle talks about um exchange, right? He thinks that every exchange should be proportional, right? That, you know, um you give one thing for another thing, and then that's the same as another person giving you another thing for that same thing. Um Now where the trouble comes in, right? And that's a very Euclidean way of understanding things, right? That the whole can be greater than the part. But where you come into trouble is, right, that not everything is what he calls commensurable, right? Like, if you're just dealing with how people uh at the very beginning of society traded things, uh right, you're not gonna give what he says like shoes for a house. That's not really a fair trade. So he says, what did um people come up with? Well, they came up with um money, which he calls, interestingly, he makes two distinction. He makes a distinction between money as anything that's accepted for exchange, like as an equalizer between things, right? Um, which would make you able to accept um or buy things that aren't commensurable um at a given quantity, which he calls noumisma, or legal tender, right? Things which have been agreed upon legally, because anything could be money, guys. Like, I don't know. I know many Mesoamerican societies use cocoa beans, for example, as currency. Um it's pretty common also to use gold and silver. Um, but the point of it is to, like, you assign everything a greater or lesser value because not everything is gonna be the same and people have different skills, right? He says that, like, you can't build a society out of 2, 4, 8, 16 doctors only, right? You need a farmer, and that farmer needs to be able to give his food to the doctor to perform his duties. But it's like, what can the doctor give back to him aside from his services, right? But when you're a house builder, that's entirely different. It seems just logically kind of unfair for one pair of shoes to give an entire house. What? Um, but the even more interesting thing, in my opinion, um, is that he also talks about chremata or chremata. I'm not sure how to pronounce that. Chremata. Uh, I think the ancient Attic is like closer to the first one, whereas the like Koine common is closer to the second. But that's more of like money in the abstract, money as a concept, more of the like traditional coin or whatever. And I really do find that interesting because you know I feel like in our society today, and even Marx mentions this in Capital, which is what led me to reread that part, because I was like, oh my gosh, I knew he would mention this. Remember that Marx was, uh, he had a degree in, uh, what we would today might consider, but which was kind of standard across most European universities back then, in like the classics, right? And um that difference, I think, is important because it does actually drive greed, right? The endless collection of money as a a concept, right? Like just the hoarding of it. And here's the thing, right? Like our chremata has reached a level of abstraction that obviously not even Aristotle would have comprehended, right? At this point it's not even money. It's just different voltages going through servers and stuff like that, which display out to humans as changes in, let's say, commodity prices or whatever, right? But like finance bros and like millionaires and billionaires have all these complicated ways of, you know, buying loans against their own stock and stuff like that to keep increasing their credit scores. And it's like, whatever happened to noumisma, guys? Whatever happened to, money as a tool? Of course I know it still exists, but I feel like it we're so even disconnected from our money in particular places in the West as physical products. And even in actuality, bro, most of our money is fiat currency, right? At least before it was tied to silver and gold. Now we don't even have that. What? It's tied to oil in the Strait of, you know what? I don't even want to say it because I don't know if you know YouTube will put the brakes on this video if I mention that straight. But huh? What now? Um and it's just this endless accumulation. Anyway, guys, thank you for listening to my uh discussion, I guess, or explanation of Aristotle's political economy and its relation to the concept of money. Bye.